So I finally got to start working on my bucket for my excavator. And if you guys have been watching my video shorts, you know that I broke one of the ears off of it. And it went flying. I can't find it. I looked everywhere. I was going to weld it back on, but I decided I was just going to make new ones. So I cut this one off. And, you know, I'm planning on making whole new ears for it. But that means I'm going to have to make new bushings for it. And I was working on it today, and I realized I'm going to have my lathe to make those bushings. And, you know, I'm going to have to do some work to my lathe before I can even do it. I've had this lathe for a couple of years, and I've been tinkering with it, trying to get it going, but I really haven't been able to do anything serious with it. You know, I upgraded the motor. It had a 3-phase big motor on it, and mice had got in it, and it ate the insulation off the wires, so I didn't think it was safe to use. So I decided to put a single-phase motor on it, and it's a 220, 5 horsepower, so it's plenty strong enough to run this thing. And then I had to upgrade the wiring on it and, you know, fix all that. But I need this to make my bushings with, but I'm going to have to do some work to this turret head on here. When I got it, this thing was stuck. I tried everything to get it loose, and I finally put a big metal bar in here and clamped it down. And it was about 6 foot long, and I put a ratchet strap on it and hooked it to the leg back down there and put pressure on it and just started, you know, tapping on it with a hammer, and it finally came loose. And it'll move now, but it takes a lot of force to move it. So I'm going to take this off and clean it underneath, and, you know, try to clean up the grease holes or the oil holes. And it's supposed to lock in place, and I think it's under this. There's supposed to be a spring-loaded thing in there that keeps it from turning backwards. And right now it just spins any way you want it to. So I'm going to tear into that and see what's under there. So this post is supposed to have a big, I guess you'd call it a nut on top with a handle that sticks out the side. And the handle's broke off of it. So I decided to weld a nut on top of it, or braze a nut on top of it. And I didn't think about it. I should have recorded that, but I didn't. So I'm just going to clean this up and use it with that nut. I don't like those handles sticking out anyway, because that's just something for you to get caught on. And I've seen my dad get hung on the handle on his and almost broke his arm. And I've hated those things ever since. So I just think the nut type system is way better. But like I said, I just now got done brazing this, and it's extremely hot. So I'm going to put it in my little oven here. It's set at 500 degrees. And anybody that's ever dealt with anything cast iron, you know that if you weld it or braze it or anything and it cools down too quick, it can crack. But anyway, while that's cooling down, I'm going to turn the temperature down a little bit every little bit, and you know, so it doesn't get any chance of cracking. So like I was saying, I got this lathe 2 or 3 years ago, and I done a couple of videos on it. And there was a guy out of Michigan. He's got a channel called Cycle Buster. He builds motorcycles and he does machine work. And he messaged me and told me that he has a lathe identical to this one well, I can't say identical because it's got a couple options that this one doesn't. But he seen me say that I didn't have the right tailstock for this, because this one, somebody made the base for it, and this is not the correct tailstock for it. And it doesn't lock down correctly, so it moves if you put it under a heavy strain. So he says he has one for this lathe and a bunch of other parts, and whenever I get a chance, I'm going to try to get away and go to Michigan and get them. And one other thing I want for this lathe is a compound tool post. You know, this is just a straight 4-corner post, and the only thing it does is, it, like I said, it turns and then goes, you know, in and out this way. And I want a compound so I can do taper cuts. And I don't know if the lathe he has that or not. I hope it does, but I'm going to try to get this off here and see what's under it, and see if I can get it cleaned up. So I don't know how hard this is going to be to get off, but let's see if we can get it off here. Oh, okay. It's moving, so see if I can find something to put under it. Let's see if a pencil will work. Yep. Okay. Okay, it's moving pretty good now. Oh God. Ugh. Oh, it's had water in it. Oh God, that stinks. I don't know what that is, but it smells bad. This lathe is 113 years old, so that's probably 113-year-old oil. It still amazes me that they built something like this that many years ago. And really, it still works. It needs some tender love and care, but it still works. And nowadays, they build something, and you're lucky to get 10 years of work out of it. Especially with all this new electronics. Once that stuff starts failing on it, it's pretty much useless on this newer stuff. I wish you all could smell how bad this smells. Probably better that you can't smell it, because God, it's awful. Uh-oh. I don't know what that is. Looks like some kind of keeper pin. I don't know if there's anything under this or not. I don't know whether to take it off and see or not. I don't imagine there's anything under there that does anything of any importance, but I don't know. Looks like there's a slot under here. I don't know, maybe I better take it off and look. That might be something for oil to run down in to lubricate this worm gear. Let me see if I can find an Allen wrench big enough to fit that. Well, it's the next day, guys. I couldn't find a 3/8 Allen wrench anywhere, so I had to go to Lowe's last night and buy me some. So I went into Lowe's looking for a standard set of Allen wrenches, but they didn't have anything that had a 3/8 in it. So I just bought this set that goes on a ratchet. I like those a lot better. They work better if you're not having to reach back in a deep hole or anything. So that's why I got these. I'm going to check on the lockdown nut for the lathe turret and see if it's cooled down yet. Yeah, it's cooled down. I want to put this in the lathe and clean it up and make it look better, but the problem is this is what holds the turret down on the lathe, so I'm going to have to come up with something to hold it down to be able to even turn this. I was talking about how bad this stuff smelled when I took that turret off last night, and when I was at Lowe's I was going to get a jug of acetone and some paint thinner, and they also keep stuff like linseed oil and tung oil and all that stuff like that. And I just happened to remember that back when this lathe was built, see, this thing was built in 1913. So back then, that was about the time that they was transitioning from using stuff like animal fats and plant-based products for lubrication. And some was still using stuff like whale oil. So that's probably what this is here, because of that yellow color. I thought it was because the water got in it, but I've ran into this before. The older lubricants, when it dried out and aged, it turned yellow. So more than likely this was animal fat type lubricant or something like that. And that would explain why it smells so bad. I mean, it smelled like something was dead in here when I took that off. So I'm going to blow this stuff out of here without trying to make too big a mess. So here's the lockdown I was talking about, was in here. I'm not real sure how it works, but it's stuck solid. And I still don't know what this thing is. I'm assuming it's some kind of a lock pin. Oh, here's another. I don't know. I don't know if that moves or if it's... I don't know. I wish I knew more about this thing before I start tearing into it, but there's not a lot of information on these old machines. It's times like this I wish my dad was still alive. My dad was a master machinist, and I'm sure sometime in the past he worked with old lathes like this. Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely animal fat lubricant. Look at that. That's definitely not a petroleum-based lubricant. There's that dead animal smell again. There may not be any hope for this. Oh my God, that smells awful. Oh, that's real good. I just blew one of my screws off. I knew I should have got one of my magnet bases to put that in. Let me go find one of my magnetic bases to put these screws in before I lose everything. So we've got these things laying all over the place. Where we buy so many auto parts from like O'Reilly's here and Advanced Auto Parts and AutoZone and all that. They're always giving us these things. And they're handy as they can be because they got a magnetic bottom in them and you just put screws in them. I think they give them to customers too if they buy a lot of stuff, you know, a big purchase. Yeah, we usually buy probably anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month in auto parts. So they give us those things all the time. I've probably got 15 or 20 of those, and all the boys in the shops got them, and we've got them everywhere. That is definitely stuck. The spring doesn't seem to be too rusted or broken or anything, but I'm going to spray all this down with a PB Blaster and let it soak for a little while. And then I'll come back and see if we can get it apart. Well, I won't be spraying it down with that one, I don't think. Now I couldn't find any more PB Blaster, so I'll just use the good old WD-40 to see if it sprays. Yeah. Here's an example of what I talked about earlier on the lubrication they used to use a long time ago. They used plant-based and animal-based lubricants made, for machines, and they used linseed oil and olive oil and whatever they could come up with. I think they even made it out of cotton seeds. There's a lot of stuff they made back then that they didn't, back before you had petroleum-based stuff. This stuff here, you can see how thick it is. And it don't smell good either just by itself. Okay, so while that WD-40 is soaking in, I'm going to take these bolts out here, and I'm assuming this comes off, so we'll see here. If I lose one of them, I might as well quit, big as they are. So I think this whole thing comes off. There's some other attachments you can get to put on here to do other things. And I'm not really sure what they are or where I can find them at. I'd really like to eventually get this thing back to full operational and find all the missing parts to it. That thing's heavy. Oh, I bet you have to take this whole thing off to put the compound head on it, because I don't know if you can see it or not, but see, here's your numeric lines. It's engraved into the metal. So apparently all that comes off and then it just bolts here, because here's the T-slot. It still amazes me that this thing's 113 years old and it's still, the tolerances are still pretty tight on it. So I'm going to spray this down with some degreaser. I guess I could take this thing off, but I don't know. I'll see if I can clean it up without taking it off. So I'm going to let that soak for a few minutes and then clean it up. I'd like to clean this up here a little bit better, but if I mess with it too much, it'll take the engravings out right here on the numbers. I don't know if you can see that or not through the camera, but it's amazing that long ago that they could get this kind of accuracy and detail with no CNC machines, and the numbers were hand stamped in. It just amazes me. I'd love to be able to have been able to watch them do this. You know, the newer tools and generation now didn't have anything on those old guys. You know, how they figured out how to do this stuff that long ago. So I'm going to put some machine oil on this before I put it all back together. Don't know that it matters, because I mean, if it's not rusted in 113 years, I don't think it's going to now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on this. I may take it over and put it in my parts washer, clean it up, and then set it in some oil. Because those things aren't moving at all. Let me go check my parts washer and see if it's got plenty of cleaning solution in it. I may put it in the parts washer. Well, my cleaning solution in the parts washer is worse than this thing is, so there's no point in sticking it in there. It'd just be a waste of time. So I'm going to soak this down with some more WD-40, and I need to get some more PB Blaster. And I think I'll just clean up all this with the needle scaler, and because it's probably got 3 or 4 layers of paint on it, and I'll just keep soaking it down until I get it clean. Okay, so I've been letting this soak for about 2 hours now. I just went out and ran around, went to Harbor Freight, looked around, bought some more tools as usual. But I'm going to see if I can get these to come loose now since they've been soaking for a while. I hope they'll come out. I'm not really sure if there's something else holds them in or if they just slide under that plate. I'm really kind of afraid I'll tear something up, but I don't have a whole lot of choice right now. It's coming pretty clean. I changed this end because it's leaking and it don't fit this for some reason. There it goes. Maybe I can tap that and get it to move. Now I see bubbles coming up there, so it's moving now. Whoa. Should have done that to start with. Nope. There's 2 springs in there. No, that one's broke. I'll probably never find a spring like that. And it's broke into 3 pieces. Uh-oh. I think that one may be attached somehow. Oh, I see. There must be a set screw in there that's holding that. No, I don't see anything. That pin right there will have to come out somehow or another. Now let me mess around with this a little bit and see if I can figure out a way to get it out. I've been tapping on this pretty hard and it's not moving, and I don't see anything holding that except for that little Allen set screw that was in there. Or actually it wasn't an Allen set, it was just a regular flat blade screwdriver, but it's a set screw anyway. So I'm going to try heating it a little bit right here and see if I can get it to move. It's still not moving. I think I'm better off just leaving that alone and just cleaning around it. I don't even know what that's for. I don't think it does anything because this is the lock. I just don't understand what its purpose is. Yeah, I think I'm just going to clean everything else and leave it in there. Oh, wait a second. I think I may have figured something out here. Okay, I finally figured it out. These little holes, there's actually threads in there. It threads in. I need something better than this though to get it out. Don't give you much room to work, that's for sure. So I hope it's not hard going back in. I still don't see a purpose for this. Looks like there's some kind of a little shim there. Yep. Oh, it's copper too. Back before the days of plastic. Good thing I didn't go overboard with the torch and get that too hot. Melt that copper. Whoa. Feel around to lose that and I'm hurting. Oh, I see what this is. I don't know if you can tell it on camera, but it's tapered. So that was used as an adjustment for the slack adjuster. Now that's smart right there. Well, it's a good thing I didn't beat on that too hard. I already bent those ears just a little bit. Let me clean up where I was tapping on that and get those straightened back out. And I'll be back. So easy to mess something up working on something you don't really know what you're doing. So and it's sad to say there's not very many people left in the world that know how all this old stuff worked. You know, like I say, my dad probably knew some of this stuff. And I know one more man that probably knows about this stuff, and he's probably getting close to 90 years old now. Let's have that backwards. Yep. Kind of worries me what's going to happen in this world when when those old guys that built this stuff are all gone. Which, I mean, the ones that built this stuff, they're definitely not around anymore, but there were still people working on this back. So like this lathe right here, from what I've been able to find out, was originally used in the first Henry Ford plant. And then after that, after they upgraded, it went to the military. And it was used by the Army, Navy, and the Marines at some point in history. And the coloring on this thing, you know, it proves that, because it's been black, it's been blue, it's been gray, and it's been tan. So it's been around. So some of them guys probably that, you know, still around that worked on this at some point or another. So I'm gonna clean this up, get it nice and shiny, and put this back together. So I'm gonna try to use this diamond hone block here to clean that up a little bit. I don't imagine it have to be too good, but just as long as it don't have no burrs and it's flat. That'd have probably been better off just using sandpaper. That's right there. It's pretty smart how they put those grooves in here to carry the oil down to the bottom. I don't know how that thing was moving before, because I backed out that wedge. See, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, or 4 threads. And it don't have any slack at all in it. So if I turned it back in, that's going to put that even tighter, so ain't no wonder it wasn't working. It wasn't just that it was dirty, but I don't know how it could have worked in the first place. Okay, that's all I can do on that until I get another spring. So I'm going to run to Harbor Freight and try to find another spring. They have spring kits there, so hopefully I can find one. I could go ahead and clean this up, but I want to get that put back together and that plate put on it before I do that, and get all that junk back down in that area there. Alright, so I'll be back in a little bit. Man, I spent an hour driving around trying to find springs, and this little thing is the only thing I could find. I went to Lowe's, Harbor Freight, all the auto parts stores, Tractor Supply. Nobody had anything. This will fit in there, but I just don't think it's strong enough. So I think I could put the old one back in there and put this small broke piece in, and it might work. I don't know. Let me stick it in there with both them pieces and see what it does. I think that might work anyway. It seems awful strong. I don't know. That may not even be the correct spring anyway. It may have been changed out in the past and somebody's put the wrong spring in it anyway. Let's try it without that little piece. That seems like that's pretty strong the way it is. Ooh, I'm gonna have to clean that up. Thing must be upside down. It came out this way, but somebody may have had it in there the wrong way. So now what I've got to do is adjust this spring, or this screw adjustment, so this doesn't come all the way out. So really I'm just guessing at this if I'm doing it right. See, I got it too tight right there. There we go. Okay, now let's see if it works. I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I just need to clean these up better. I still think that's sticking out too far. So apparently I'm doing something wrong. I just don't know what it is. Okay, well, I'm going to clean this up a lot better and try to figure out what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, I've got everything cleaned up best I can without cutting into the metal, and I don't want to take a chance on that. I got this cleaned and oiled, and I cleaned out the oil ports. They were completely stopped up. So even if you oiled it, it wasn't going to get down into here where it's supposed to be. And I figured out what that little pin right there is, that locks in a wedge that locks this in. So apparently this will twist out counterclockwise if you need to take it off, and that wedge locks it in. So I'm not messing with that. There's no point in even getting into that. God, this thing's heavy. God, that moves so good now. This is supposed to have a seal on it, and I don't think I've got anything to use right now, so. So all this extra oil I've put in here is going to go all over the place. Oh, about forgot, I've got to put that set screw back in. If I don't lose it. I found my little screw that I blew off with the air hose, luckily. I don't know how, because up close without my reading glasses, I'm blind as a bat. Which is bad, because I can see a man walking on the moon from my back porch, but I can't see anything up close. I should have waited to put that on until I put this thing back in place, because that is extremely heavy. Okay. Now, like I was saying before, I'm going to have to come up with some way to lock this down with a regular nut so I can turn this down. I guess I could wait on this, but I really want to get this cleaned up. It's crazy, it don't take much to hold these down. Alright, let me decide if I'm just going to use it like it is and go ahead and start working on my bushings, or if I'm going to fix this. I think I'm going to fix this. So I found an old bearing and a washer and another nut put on this, and I think it'll hold it pretty good. Like I was saying earlier, it don't take much to hold this thing down with all that friction on this plate down here. So I've got that thing mounted in the lathe. I started to grind it off, but I figured I would just try it in the lathe and see what happens. So let's give it a try. I don't know. I guess it'll stay in there. see if I can find something to put behind that to space that out. Well, I don't have anything right size to space it out, so I'm gonna have to turn the jaws around. It's not the prettiest thing, but it looks a lot better than it did, so I think I'm going to spin it in the lathe and take the grinder and go around it and smooth it up, make it look a little better. Well, I think it turned out pretty good. I think I'm going to call it on this video. The next one will be doing the bushings and working on my bucket. Well guys, that's going to be it for this video. I'm tired and I'm dirty, and I just looked at the video footage and I've got 4 hours and 37 minutes of video footage. So like I said, I'm going to have to do a lot of editing and cut out a lot of stuff, and I'm going to speed up a lot of it, and there'll be a lot of music in this one. But you can check out the next video. Like I said, I'm going to try to work on the bushings for the bucket and get it done and get the ears put on it, because I need that excavator bad. But if you guys don't care, you know, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It really helped me out. Thanks a lot.